Good evening. Good evening to the team that gets it clean. We're here for another week of Thursday Thoughts with Sharon Greene-Golden. And I'm a little excited today because I'm going to talk about something I put on hold for about a week, and it's about certification. And I want to read the post that was put out because so you'll understand kind of where I'm coming from this evening on the information I give you about certification. My disclaimer to each of you all that are listening is that remember, this is Thursday Thoughts with Sharon Greene-Golden. So I will give you some facts and I will give you some information that comes from other people who have written why certifications matter. But this is actually my opinion along with theirs as to the importance of certifications. So this was reposted by someone and it says, I reposted this comment because I would like the opinion of other SPD technicians. When it comes to certification and how there is no value in a certification, but you have to have it renewed. Tell me how you feel about it. It is hurtful because you pay the fee for the certificate, you take the test, you get the certificate renewed. For what? It seems as if it is no value. There's got to be some solutions and steps to change this. Does the facility or company value you and the certificate? This was really a loaded post. So first off, I think it is very important that when you're in a profession, you know what your profession is about, why you're there, why there's certain rules and regulations or certain standards or certain best practice or evidence-based best practice. So what I want to tell you is that a question is, do certifications matter? And I'm going to tell you, yes, they do, because they validate your knowledge to a degree. It doesn't mean that you know everything. I've told you all before that comes with experience, and experience comes with time. But it tells us that you know the basics. Certifications do matter because it gives the people who don't have the experience, the confidence to speak about a specific topic. I can't speak about rocket science because that's not my wheelhouse. And I haven't taken any courses. I haven't read enough books to be able to appropriately give the information that would be needed for me to stand in front of an audience and talk about my experience as a rocket scientist. But I can talk about my experience as a sterile processing professional. I think you have to know that the certificate, yes, it's a piece of paper, but it does matter. Um, it is necessary for the job that you do. So remember, what you do matters, and you're all about patient safety. And contrary to the thought process that even though we are doing an on-the-job training, it is really not beneficial or correct that we bring people in, what I used to say technically, off of the street and show you 2, 3 days how to do something, and you run in, and next thing I know, you're in the decontamination area cleaning something. You don't know any IFUs, you've had no experience, and you're cleaning from what you know. We are products of our environment, and your environment is cleaning dishes, washing clothes, cleaning floors, cleaning maybe windows, but not cleaning instruments that are going to go into somebody's body. So they had to come up with a way to validate that you know what you know. And that came with certification. So many employers require certification now because we've had a lot of issues. Let's be transparent and honest. A lot of patients have lost their lives with surgical site infections. And for years, I'm going to take it all the way back to 1980, even before then, we were just doing what we thought was best. We didn't read any instructions for use. We didn't follow any instructions for use. We just went and did it. And we did what somebody told us to do. And we may have gotten away. You may not have harmed anybody. You might tell me, Miss Golden, I've been doing it for 25 years and nobody's ever been harmed. The bottom line is that you don't know that, because you have to be on a certain level to know how many surgical site infections your hospital has. And you have to be part of the infection control committee to really know what's going on in your hospital when it comes to infections. So what we found is that a certification indicates, this is what it does. It indicates that you meet the standard of competence. We're talking about competence here. Competence. And you know, every day somewhere in the world, we miss the boat on competence. Somebody does something that they shouldn't do. The sad part is that the patient gets the short end of that stick. They're the ones that have to get the antibiotics, have more surgeries. Um, Patients who are burned because you did not do your insulation testing correctly. Um, they get an infection, they get a burn. Nobody saw the burn on the intestine. Nobody saw it because they're looking up at the screen, and it was very minute. But the patient doesn't heal. Their body cannot heal them, and they get worse and worse. And finally, they bring them back and they do an exploratory laparotomy, and they find a festered burn because they got burned because there was a hole in your Maryland dissector, and the electricity had to go somewhere, it arced out of that hole and burnt the patient. And the patient developed an infection, and now they're sick and almost until death. And yes, they have died. And that comes back to competence. Was the person competent that put that tray together? So when you want to be professional, it requires certifications and or some kind of testing. Would you want your nurse to come off the street and watch somebody give shots for 2, 3 days and then she go draw up some medicine and give it to you? No, we want her to go to school. We want her to be validated, and they take a licensure test. Do you want an airplane pilot that's been practicing in his backyard with a soapbox, and he finally gets grown? He runs and he flies a couple of times with a few friends, and they make him a pilot because he looks like he can do a good job. He talks like he can do a good job. He's been to no school. He's had no real course. Somebody told him how to fly the plane. Is that the pilot you want? That's not the one I want. What do I want for my surgical case? And I've had many. I want to know that we have competent people who have had some type of formal education as to what it is we're doing. And they get that, and I can stand behind it when they come to me and they are certified. Now, your Auntie Amy recommended practice says that if you do come into the field and you're in the field and you didn't have any real formal schooling, you just took the book home and you read it, and somebody trained you, that you need to be certified within 2 years of coming into this field. What I do know is I've brought many people in from the ground up, and it takes almost 2 years to get them to where I can stand in the corner and say, you know what, Sharon is competent to do A, B, C, maybe not competent on D, but I can stand behind her work and what she's doing on A, B, and C. And she has a certification. Certification doesn't mean you're a genius. It doesn't mean that you're the all know get all. It means that you have the basic information to do the job. I have said more than 5,000 times, your education comes with time. You need to have time to go out and to actually do some things, to work on your critical thinking. Someone has a question that says, do you think the initials behind our name will help more SPD personnel be placed in positions of leadership? Now, leadership is separate from the initials behind your name. We are getting them, and we have the golden crown and all kind of crowns. And I have initials behind my name, and I'm proud of every one of them, and I worked very hard for each of them, but I got them over time. I think that you have to look at the position that you're in and the department we're in. And we talked about this today with Isham. It's a field where if people have the passion, they stay. And the only way you're going to get the real supervisor job is the supervisor has to move on or die. And you can have 50,000 letters behind your name. What you may have to do to become a leader, if that is your desire, along with your credentials, would be to move on. You can't stay where you are. You have to pick it up and move somewhere else. You have to go sell yourself to somebody else. Because if you're already in an established department, unless they do something bad, illegal, immoral, wrong, they're going to be there in the position they're in as long as they work that position. So it is a little sad that we don't have 90 million leadership positions in a sterile processing department, but we really don't. I think that made a decision. I made it a designated, purposeful decision that I had people in my department who had leadership potential. And I thought about it one day and I said, you know what? They will never lead if I don't allow them to start. And so I went to my C-suite and said, would you allow me to let these people lead? They're good technicians. They're great technicians. They're competent technicians. They're certified technicians. And they have leadership skills. But they can never learn how to lead if they never get the opportunity. You see, I can watch fishing shows all day long, but until I get a fishing pole and some bait on the end of the hook and actually cast my line, I'm not a fisherman. And I really don't know what it feels like to fish. I went fishing. I've gone fishing. And the first time I went, I had my little line in the water and I was standing there and everybody was catching fish. I wasn't catching anything. And I said, well, I'm not having any fun because I'm not catching any fish. And the gentleman came over and held my arm. He says, when you feel the nibble, you have to yank your pole up to make that hook into the fish's mouth, and then you bring him in. Well, I would have stood there all day long with a pole in the water, line in the water, and not caught anything. Once he told me the basis of how to catch a fish with that fishing pole, I was catching fish left and right like everybody else. So, and I didn't have any initials called Fisherwoman behind my name. So the initials just mean that you've taken the extra time to learn more. And great leaders and good leaders learn more. So, certification is important. Yes, especially in our field of work. When we come back, we'll talk about a little bit more. We're going to go to a commercial. Thank you to the team that gets it clean. We're talking about the importance of certification in sterile processing.
Those in the know SIPS Consults. SIPS Consults is hiring. Confident, competent, and consistent. Starting as a consultant and a volunteer, SIPS has grown into a dynamic group of stellar sterile processing professionals, offering excellent benefits, 401k, and consultant in training program. We are hiring certified technicians, leads, supervisors, interim managers, educators, coordinators. Apply at recruiting@sipsconsults.com or dial 1-866-615-7977.
We're back. So I had another thought that I wrote down here, and it says, when someone has a certification, it is an indicator, not a predictor. It is an indicator, not a predictor. It doesn't predict how great you're going to be. It's an indicator of what you already know. Now, on this post, they said they don't think that the piece of paper is worth anything. It is worth something. And yes, with ISHM, you have to renew every year. Now, I say before you start something, you should do some research. Why do we have you renew every year? First of all, we have one of the most economical memberships, $60, and renewal was $60. Technically, it's $10 to be a member of the association. It is $50 for your renewal. You talk to someone that's a CST, you talk to some nurses, you talk to some doctors, and you find out that we're getting away with murder here. But we're doing this because we're trying to get ourselves into a place where we can get some things done. So we do it every year in ISHM because we find, now this is not everybody, a hit dog will holler. We find that if we did not ask you to renew every year, you wouldn't pick up not one article, you wouldn't watch not one webinar. Some of you, this is just generalized, you wouldn't do anything. You take your certificate, and as this person says, I guess, throw it in the corner and go to work every day. But we need to know that you are constantly learning, constantly staying abreast of what is new, what is better. You're constantly keeping your mind open to how to take care of our patients better. Certification allows you to demonstrate that you are committed. Lawyers, think about it. Lawyers go to school, they go get their bachelor's, the BS, and then they go back to school. And when they finish the law school, they have to take a test. Do you want the lawyer that just somebody told him, and he's your lawyer, and you're up against the death penalty? No, I need the lawyer that passed the test, that is competent, and I need a lawyer who's been specializing in getting people free from the death penalty. I don't need the lawyer that's been specializing in bird food. So we need to know that you are committed to your specialty. And sterile processing is a specialty. Not everyone can come in there and go to work. That's why we have the doors locked. We lock it down, and we're very particular, or we should be particular, about who we allow to work in our department, because we understand the importance of what it is that we do. Certification helps us to get you there. So, yes, you need to be certified, because we have found over the years that when we did the data research over people who were certified against people who weren't, that we had a lot of trouble when they weren't certified. They weren't as committed to the process, to learning. I told my team, I said, during the pandemic, we had a lot of time to do all kinds of webinars. And I think that some of my team members have 50, 60 CE, continuing education, because every Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, we were watching 3M, One Source, HealthMark, Steris. We listened to somebody tell us something that would help us, once the pandemic was over, to be better professional technicians. Certifying knowledge in a specific area is not useless. You know, I said this on the, and we're going to run that tape one day, from the Today Show. Your dog groomer has a certification. And as much as we love our animals, some of you all would go ballistic if the dog groomer cut your dog's hair wrong. You want him fired. The tattoo artist has a license, certification. Some of you all got paint from the top of your shoulder to the bottom of your finger, all the way down to your little baby toe. You want to know that the artist that is doing your artwork is certified and knows how to make sure those needles are clean and not transferring any disease to you. And you don't want just me coming out the backyard saying, I've been practicing on some rocks and now I'm ready to do your tattoo. So certification is very important. Workers today realize that they have to be proficient in something. Proficient. Every day in my department, I look around and I say, oh, my skin kind of crawls, because somebody's doing something that's wrong. They're not proficient in it. And I'm concerned, because I think that I'm doing a good job in teaching and maintaining what the processes are, what best practices, what recommended practices, what evidence-based practices. I think that I'm actually helping them. But sometimes I'm overwhelmed with the fact that they don't really get it. And I find that is due sometimes to the commitment part. I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm committed to the process. I'm committed to the outcomes of my patients' surgeries. I am committed to doing it right. I'm committed to telling people I am a sterile processing professional, and I'm proud of it. And do you know what I do? I'm committed to that. Earning certifications can help you in your positions as you go on. I wasn't always certified. I worked in store processing for many years just as a store processing technician. And then I started reading and studying. I started sponsoring myself to the national meeting and becoming more learned. And as I became more learned and saw networked with other people, I realized that there was more to this than just washing some instruments and putting the trays together. That I needed, if I wanted to be a leader in this field, because I have that takeover spirit. If I wanted to be a leader, if I wanted to be somebody great, if I wanted to be able to leave my mark on the world through my profession, I was going to have to know what my profession was about. I was going to have to get certified. I was going to have to maintain that certification. There's a question: is certification accurate measurement of the competence? Certification is not, certification gives you the basic knowledge to do your job. It does not necessarily measure your competence, because some of us have very good memories and minds. You can study. Some of us can read a book from front to back and pass a test in the morning. It's just a one of many things that you need to do. So before I would let you come in and become the team leader, I have to know that you're competent. That's why we do competencies. We have to know that you're able to follow instructions, follow through from the beginning to the end, and put out a product that is valuable to the patient. Certification means you got the basic knowledge. Competence plus certification says that maybe you're doing a good job. Because see, you have to be able to do this job every time, every day for everybody, no matter how you feel. If you're putting together the laparoscopic tray for your colilaps and your lap appies, you have to put it together by checking the insulation every time. Not every other time, not once a week, but every time, because you want to be sure that that tray that you put together, which is the product that we are producing, is going to be safe for the patient. So I think that you need certification and competencies. And competencies we do every year. And you do competencies as often as needed to keep people abreast of what it is they're supposed to do. Some competencies you can do once a year. Some competencies you may have to do every 6 months, because people just don't grasp what it is they're doing and they don't get it done. What I can tell you is that certification in the healthcare industry is becoming more and more a demand. Nurses have a license, and now they are requiring at some hospitals that they be certified in their specialty. So they got some of these nurses have a BSN, that's a degree. They got their RN license, and now they have to go get a certification because you're a med surg nurse. Get a certification because you're an L&D nurse. Get a certification because you're the CVIR specialist. So people specialize, and the certification says that you have enough knowledge to pass the basic information test to do the job, and with competencies should be competent. Certification, earning a certification does sometimes position you to become a leader. People go for interviews and they're like, I didn't get the job. Well, are you certified? No. Have you done anything to show why you should be in charge of the sterile processing other than you've been there 30 years? No. Well, I hire people, and I'm telling you, I'm hiring people that not only have certification, but I feel are competent. And you have to sell yourself because I don't know you. Now, we do have ways. We used to bring people in and let them do some trays, talk us through things to see where they stood. The pandemic kind of took that away, and it was very hard to hire people during the pandemic. In fact, I don't think I actually hired anybody until the basic pandemic was over, because I needed to see the white of their eyes, their body language, other than their certificate. But does your certificate mean anything? Mine means a lot to me, because it means I am a professional, that I have done some extra work, that I stay abreast of what is going on, at least 12 basic CEUs. I have other certifications, and for each certification, that's +6 that I must do every year to show that I have maintained my educational level with the credentials that are riding behind my name. So certification is very important, people. Don't let anybody talk you down off that ledge. Don't feel that your piece of paper doesn't mean anything, because it does. It should mean something to you. You worked hard to get that piece of paper. You had to do some studying. You had to do some workbook work. You had to do some hands-on to allow the study and the hands-on to mirror and work together so that you understood. And then you had to pay some money. And then you had to go sit for a test. And then you say you don't think it's worth anything. It's worth a lot to me. It's worth the time, the blood, sweat, and the tears it took me to get through that test. And I always maintain my certifications. I stay up to date because I don't want to take the test again. Once I take a certification test and I passed it, I'm done. I will do all the continuing education I need to do. I don't want to sit at a computer and take the test again. You have to be aware of who you are and what it is. We were at the scrub ball this past weekend and they talked about the why. Why are you working in sterile processing? Because it's a job? Because they took you in and you feel like, oh, I'll do this for a while? See, when your why is important to you, then getting certified, maintaining certification, staying abreast of what's new, learning the IFUs is easy. Because you see, this is what you do. This is your passion. Yes, I do not volunteer my time. I get paid for what I do. But I am happy when I go to work. All days are not rosy. Some days I'm a fireman. I'm putting fires out all day long. And at the end of the day, I'm a tired fireman. But at the end of the week, I look back over what I did with my team. And I do the check boxes. Did we do a good job this week? Do I feel that we met the parameters of keeping our patients safe? I am proud that out of 27 people in my department, that 24 are certified. And that of those 24, 9 of them have 2 certifications. And I'm not just out there letting my team get certifications. My team members will tell you that they can't take the CIS until they've been there for 3 years. Because how do you become a specialist and you just got here yesterday? When I ask you for Joe's hole, you don't even know what it is. When the doctor calls down and says, I need the horseshoe correct, and you running around in a circle because it's nowhere in the book is it called the horseshoe correct. It's the hunter. So if you're going to be an instrument specialist, you have to know about all the instruments. So I hold my team to a higher level. They must have been doing this for at least 3 years. I won't sign the paper because certification is important. I think I saw another question. But certification is important. It's important to me. And I will tell you, it is important to other people. So Sarah, hi Sarah. Sarah put, stop waiting for your job to give you passion. You're absolutely right. You have to bring your own passion. And if you bring your own passion and you work your passion by learning, by doing what's best, by asking questions, by staying abreast, all these other things will come to you. And you may have to leave where you are. Lisa Huber, a past president of ISHM, said that today more than once. You may have to leave JoJo's General Hospital and pack your suitcase and go work at Farmer Smith's Hospital in order to get the position that you want. But if you have stayed abreast, if you're certified, you can go sell yourself over at Farmer Joe's General Hospital and say, look, this is what I'm going to bring to the table. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I do. This is my passion. I love my job every day. I like the fact that what I do, I get paid for. Because I probably wouldn't be a very good ditch digger. Because, see, I don't like digging ditches. I don't like being outside in the sun. So I'm not going to do good. But sterile processing, I found my niche. I found my why. And the certification helps me. Why do we seem to always wait on something or someone outside of ourselves to determine our value? I'm going to say that we are products of our environment to a point. I happen to have been blessed with parents who told me all my life I could do anything I wanted to do. I could fly if that's what I wanted to do. They said you have to put in the work to do it, but you are good enough to be anything you want to be. I had a teacher that told me, he said, Sharon, you are good enough to get a job somewhere else. Don't let anybody hold you hostage to a job. Find what you're good at, find what you love, and do that. I didn't fall into it the first time. I didn't just run into the sterile processing and like it. I came in and learned over time, this is what I like to do. And when I understood that I worked with patients' lives and that every instrument I touched somebody else's life, I felt important. I felt important. I didn't need anybody to tell me how important I was. I already knew it. So it is about being able to love yourself enough to know your worth. Do you know how much you're worth? Certifications will help you. Certifications will help you. So if we need to and we have enough questions, we can talk about this again at another show. But yes, your certification paper does mean something to somebody, you. And that's it for tonight. Thank you all for listening to my Thursday thought on certification and the importance. And listen, I'm going to just say as we go out, we went to the scrub ball. It is Karen Cherry's. She has the Cherry Foundation. She's doing wonderful work in Dallas. She has a building that's going to go up in Oklahoma. She has a vision and she's working her vision out to help us in the field of sterilization processes, not just at her own little area, but all over to be the best we can be. So the scrub ball, this was the annual, this was the first sailing. They're going to come up and do it again next year. I would suggest that you go. It was a wonderful weekend of knowledge, of networking, of learning, and just refreshing because we should always take care of ourselves. So Scrub Ball 2022, you know how we are in sterile processing. We always sometimes, this is general, say we don't have any money. Well, start putting your $2 to the side so that you can be in Dallas next year because it's going to be a bang up thing. It's going to be one of the best little things we can do. There's no reason for you not to be happy about the field that you're in. You have the different groups that are out here to help you with your education. It's not just Isham, Beyond Clean, the CBS, BDT. I may have gotten those initials wrong. AORN and their evidence-based practices, the ANSI Amy. We are becoming more and more recognized, and what we do matters. And as I say goodnight, you all know that you may or may not know, but I co-wrote a book with three wonderful young ladies. Wild the Pandemic. What I learned during the pandemic. Not only did we live through the pandemic, we took time within the pandemic to write a book. Writing a book isn't easy. We wrote a book, and you know what? I would suggest that everybody get a copy, support us, and get a copy of that book, Wild the Pandemic. I haven't been doing a good job marketing the book. So I'm going to market the book because I need to. I'm proud of the product that we four ladies put out. We're proud of what we put out. I will tell you that if you buy the book from us, whoever you buy it from can at least start the signing of the book for you so that you can get a signed book. But if you don't want to do that, you can get it on Amazon. It's a real book, y'all, and we're proud of our process. Wild the Pandemic. Certification matters. Thank you all for listening to me, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you all again on Thursday Thoughts with Sharon Greene-Golden. It's the view from my window. Thank you.